For our project, we decided to do a steam engine. The theory behind a steam engine is there's a fuel source and a boiler. For our project, for our fuel source, we used an SBIT tablet. Our SBIT tablet had a burn time of 12 minutes. It had a BTU output of 13,300 per pound, but the tablets that we were using were only half an ounce. A boiler or steam engine works by the fuel source is combusted and the stored energy is released to the boiler. The boiler has water in it, which is then heated and created into steam, generating 15 psi inside the boiler. The boiler, once the steam is heated, it moves to a throttle control valve. Once that is opened, it goes to a piston, which in our case was connected to a paddle wheel. From using this data, we calculated that one tablet should give us a theoretical horsepower of 1.225 horsepower.
To find our actual power, we raised a mass of 1.62 ounces, 35 inches off this pulley that we had connected to our steam engine and piston. And we did that 4 times, giving us 4 different timed results. We found the average of that and used those numbers to calculate our actual horsepower output, and using our actual horsepower output of 2.5 thousandths of a horsepower, divided that by 1.225 horsepower, which is the stored amount of power in the tablet, to calculate 2.04 efficiency.
Jacob was wrong. The SBIT tablet burn time is 8 minutes, not 12. That would make the calculation.
For the design of our paddle boat, this is a top view looking down on it. Here is the main boiler, where the SBIT tablet, our fuel source, would be underneath of it, so it's not pictured in this diagram. The boiler heats up, steam runs out of the pipe in the front, down to the throttle control valve here, lifts up and down. When all the way open, the steam will continue down the length of pipe into our cylinder located here. Our cylinder is connected to a flywheel to help with momentum to keep it running the whole time. And then our flywheel is connected by a 5-to-1 pulley ratio to our paddle wheel, which paddles the entire design.
Spin it. Why? Blow the whistle. 2. Yeah. Oh, this hurts so bad. I give it a good spin.
So for our final thoughts here, reasons why we suggest it wasn't really working in practice was on the main boiler here, we discovered that underneath the outlet channel, steam was leaking out between right here. We tried putting the O-rings there, but the O-rings ended up failing, and they weren't holding the steam, and it was leaking out. Another thing was on the throttle control valve. Now my father had already explained how this thing leaked a lot, and he already tried to work on it in order to fix it. But it's just almost impossible because it is still metal on metal contact in there. And whenever the valve was on, steam would leak out of this joint right here where the pin was, and would leak out both sides as we were losing pressure pretty fast. Another reason why is it wouldn't stay running was we think that this gear ratio here, not necessarily that it was too large, it was more the belt that we were using. We were using a rubber band, and it wasn't really working. There was too much flex in it, and what would happen was when this wheel started to turn, this one over here would turn, but all of a sudden it would stop and want to turn back the other way as this band was shrinking and this one was expanding. To solve that issue, we would have to use a Kevlar belt, as my father had originally had on here, but it's pretty expensive to come by. We couldn't find it in the lab. In order to fix these seals over here, one thing that we were suggested was to put a grinding compound in between on this shaft and the valve itself and work it in order to get these as close as possible, but hopefully not as much steam would leak out. On this one, the screw that would actually screw down in here was starting to become boogered just from old age. So either we would need to replace the screw, or another thing we could do is we could try to re-thread it to unbooger the threads, thus getting a much tighter seal here and less than the steam leakage.